How's it going, folks? I'm Matt. This is Photosynthetic. Welcome to the brand new show, Beyond the Beat. Today, we've got a super fantastic guest. The first one to kind of help me bring the channel back. Man, goes by the name Taylor T. Bezel, Bezel, as you may know him on Instagram, also known as Little Lake Valley Genetics. And guys, if you've not seen his gear, first like Instagram, like right there, bang, bang, boom, and whatnot. But look at my page too, because I grew some stuff. We're gonna get into talking about that. But Taylor, welcome to the show, man. Super stoked to have you here, dude.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
And before we get started, I got to give a shout out to the man Hash Rookie, or Woody Wilson as he's known on my Discord. He did the intro and kind of got us connected up. He tossed me a pack of your beans, the Please Wash Me's. Finished running that, washed it as instructed, and just top notch, man. Absolute top notch. Beautiful looking flower. The terps on it, just gas, so much gas. And the wife is in there with me earlier because I just puffed a big fatty up, and she's like, "Oh, it's like skunk and cat piss." It's like, "Oh, perfect, that's what we're going for." So anyway,
there we go.
Brought you here today to ask you a few questions. Go beyond the bean. I want to find out who you are, kind of how you got into the game, why you started breeding. I want to talk hot sauces too, because I loved your Insta there. I saw you a couple of weeks ago. You got some brand new lines going, and you're going nuts just eating this hot sauce. So that's absolutely fantastic. We'll get into that. But let's start first. How did you get into growing? And talk about your style a little bit. Just who the grower is first.
Well, I was born and raised in Mendocino County, a little town called Willits, and it resides in the Emerald Triangle in California, Northern California. And I grew up with a family that had been growing cannabis for a while before I had even, showed up on the scene. And so it was basically like means of survival, a way to get, Christmas presents for kids, a way to, live some sort of normalcy and a decent type of life in these kind of very rural settings where there's not a lot of jobs and opportunities.
Yeah.
And I started growing right around 8th, 9th grade. So around 14 years old. I started helping out before then, carrying soil, digging holes, learning how to run water lines, the necessary, fundamentals of everything. But, right around 14, 15, that's when, I was able to, do my first couple plants myself.
Seed to soil, that kind of thing.
Yep.
All right on. So you've been at it for a while then. Well, where are you now? Like, talk about your setup a little bit, how you're growing.
Well, we do a lot of outdoor.
Yep.
And we do a lot of green auto deprivation, greenhouses and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really run a lot of indoor because we're very rural out in the mountains and there's not any power. And so
fair.
Yeah.
And I guess you're kind of in the location for growing really good anyway.
Yeah. The climate and the soil, the topography, the terroir, everything around here is just sort of naturally adapt to growing the plant.
Oh, fantastic. So then the breeding happens. I mean, you've been growing for a while, you're getting into it, loving what you're doing. You start making seeds. How did that come about? What was the idea to really start breeding?
So like 2000, so I graduated high school in 2004. So probably about 2006, 2007, I started just basically experimenting with popping seeds and popping, because I started going down to LA after I graduated high school, and I started venturing out by myself, and I started seeing all these dispensaries and all these shops, and I was just like the difference between Southern California and Northern California, whereas like Southern California is more of the consumer market, lots of shops, whereas Northern California is the production side of it, a lot of big ranches, a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. And so just going down to LA and more urban areas blew my mind on how, like, the different packaging, the labeling. When I was growing up, early teenage years, you get a sandwich bag with some buds. You know what I mean? And so now I'm going to these 215 shops and I'm seeing all these fancy jars and all these labels. I'm just like, whoa. I was like, this is becoming like a thing, like an industry. And I started seeing like, like special varieties, you know, like I remember when Girl Scout cookies first came out and I was making my rounds at the dispensaries in the Bay. And I remember people being like, hey, you know what Girl Scout cookies is? And at the time I didn't. And they were like, hey, it's from these people that got like a clique here in the Bay and they're doing their own varieties and it's becoming real. And I was like, oh shit. And so I started really hitting the breeding hard because I started making the connection that all of this new stuff that was going on in the city that was having a pool, like people were requesting it and they wanted the new stuff. They didn't want just the same old white rhinos and white widows and that kind of stuff. They wanted this like stuff no one had ever really seen or tasted before. And I was like, that's where it's at.
Yeah. And now we've got you here. I'm just filling around with the box. So I got some packaging here, a little Lake Valley box right here. I just happen to have it sitting there. But I mean that's the thing. You got some words on here that I think really resonate with me too. And it's this one here. It's the genetics for hash makers by a hash maker. So how did the focus turn into that? Like, I mean, I love making hash myself. And I can see how, one can develop a passion, but you decided to really focus in on that area then.
Yeah. I had a friend that had an older brother that introduced us to hash. And I just absolutely fell in love. And so, 8th grade summer going into 9th in 99, when I was 14, we took a trip. And BC Bubble Man had his shop in BC, and he was selling the bubble bags out of his shop. And at that time, they wouldn't ship them to America. And so we drove up to BC with the older brother. He went in, bought the bags. We did the road trip back to NorCal. And that's when I started making that because I just absolutely fell in love. I was like, why would I smoke the plant when I could smoke this? Because in reality, that's all I'm trying to smoke off of the plant, And I remember just the feel of the smoke, the taste, everything. I was just like, oh yeah, I want to smoke hash. And so after that, getting involved in making it and producing it, I started realizing like, hey, only certain varieties make it. At this time, there was not a lot of washing stuff. In fact, people thought you were shit nuts washing some stuff,
Yeah, because back then it was like charas, or all the hash was coming from far, far away. We didn't have anything to do this with, did we?
No. I mean, there was some like little bit of knowledge because of Mila in Europe and
Right.
Marcus Bubbleman up in Canada. And so, but it was a very, very niche clique and people that had the information. And back then, people weren't really trying to share the information at all either. And so I entered the Emerald Cup in 2010 the first time for hash, and I won first place. And then they didn't have the hash competition 2011. They had like a little scare with the local law enforcement. But then it came back. And so I won first place again in 2012. And then I won third place in 2013. And that's what really set it off. And so I started breeding more and more and more. But I was sort of keeping it on the old school, like my uncles taught me, and not sharing stuff, to try to keep it like, hey, this is ours and this is why we have this attraction.
Right. That close to the chest, keep that info tight, because the family secret kind of thing.
But I also like to smoke hash. Like that's my thing.
Yeah,
So I really got tired of just having the same old strains and then people mixing them and certain percentages. When in reality, it's just the same shit being passed around, mixed together. Like there's nothing new. And so in 2018, I came out with Little Lake Valley Seed Co. And I made it public, like, hey, we have these seeds, this is what we're doing, I'm already an award-winning hash maker. I've been making hash this long. That's what I like to do. And so it's sort of like if you go to the gym, right? And you want to lift weights and learn how to be strong. Are you going to listen to the guy who always complains about how he can't do stuff and he's 150 pounds? Are you going to talk to the real quiet older guy who's 250 of solid muscle?
Exactly. And of course, somewhere that you also have experiences, the gym. I know you're into the lifting and whatnot. Maybe just talk to that, touch on that since we're kind of on that subject.
Um, Going to the gym is not like it is for most people for me. Um, it's a part of my daily ritual that I practice obsessively on a routine and schedule. When practiced at that level consistently is what yields success. So I don't go to the gym because I like to. In fact, most of the days I don't want to go to the gym.
It's hard.
And whatever side effect that I have, like body wise, it's a direct side effect of the work being put in. I go to the gym to force myself to do things that are very hard and necessarily I don't want to do. Because when you do those things, that's what creates the momentum to propel you as long as you consistently practice it to become the person you say you want to be.
I can't help but feel this is the passion, the art, the way that it's practiced as you bring it into the breeding as well as doing the plants. So to go forward with that, let's talk about your process. You know, we don't have to go super deep, but high level, end to end. You've got a plant. You want to start working with it. How do you go about it?
Well, I always do what I feel is necessary and right for the breeding. Um, I don't do popularity things like, say, when straw guava came out, I didn't breed with it for 2 or 3 years after that because, I don't believe in jumping on popularity contests
Yeah.
and trying to uh, appease a certain group of people through having quick sales. Like I said, I really like smoking hash. And so I'm trying to take that weight and put it on my back and propel the genetics of hash and get it to the point much more quicker so all of us can enjoy more things. That's why I stopped being selfish with the seeds and I started being like, I'm never going to pop all these. We got to get these into other people's hands. And I started realizing how many people have passion for it as well. And so that automatically, in my mind, qualifies them to grow it.
Yeah. So if you had to go through and pick out what you feel maybe be your signature strain or signature line, what are we talking about here? What's some of your favorites?
Well, I mean, the Fofana line started everything. Fofana is the flagship strain. That's where it all started. And you see, this is again why I started doing this breeding is because I take a different dab every time I take a dab. Like, let's see if I can switch this around for you. But here's my smoking station, and I keep all these out because I take a different dab every dab.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have a per se like overall favorite. I enjoy all of them, and that's the premise behind what I do is because I like having the different varietals, and having it be not a mix. Like it's an actual from a seed. It's not these two things mixed together.
Yeah, absolutely. Variety is the spice of life, am I right?
Yeah, like the uniqueness. And that's why I have a lot of gassy stuff. I have a lot of fruity stuff. I have some candy stuff. I try to hit everything because I like to smoke everything.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's very similar to the way that I approach stuff. I like to have a healthy variety of flavors, variety of effects. Getting to talk about flavors and whatnot. So I just want to kind of shift and pivot a little. The hot sauces, the other spice of life. You do hot sauces as well. You've got an entire line of hot sauces on your website, don't you?
Yeah. I own Trippy Chili, and so that's 100% single source hot sauce. I grow all the chilies here at the house, formulate all the recipes, bottle it all, package it all, label it all. So it's it's all 100% done by these right here. And it was the principle that very super hot peppers are hard to grow. And so I was like, well, I have a very extensive knowledge on gardening, and so let's try it out. I'm really good at growing peppers. Then I started realizing, I was like, oh, okay. People really like hot sauce. I mean, like, it's actually in the top 5 fastest growing markets and companies in the United States is hot sauce.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. People like love the shit. And so I made a little test batch, and I basically did, I only had so much, so I passed it out to family. I had people kind of upset that I didn't have more to give them. And I'm like, and then I realized, I was like, I could probably formulate this into a business. I have a very entrepreneurial mindset. And so I started realizing, I was like, well, there's single source concentrates. Why can't there be single source hot sauce? So I started I started marketing it as such. And then I grow the peppers in the same no-till gardening system, living soil, do my own ferments, make my own worm castings. So the peppers are right next to everything else, getting that same treatment.
Yep. And
so the complexity and the level of the flavors in the chilies, along with the heat, that's what's got people hooked. And we use 100% pepper mash. Like our first ingredient is peppers. If you go to a lot of hot sauces, and you're probably going to start doing this because I got people doing it all the time now. You read a hot sauce on a table, first ingredient says water. So according to the USDA, your first ingredient has to constitute for 51% of the total weight of that product. So 51% of that hot sauce is water.
Yeah.
And what they do is they take powdered chili and they rehydrate it with the water until it makes a slurry that resembles hot sauce. So most of the hot sauce that you get isn't even hot sauce.
I had no idea this was going on. I love hot sauce. Okay,
I started paying attention to that. So that's why it's so easy for me to sell hot sauce, because everyone isn't really eating hot sauce. So when they taste mine, it's like that meme. They're like, what the fuck? Like, this is delicious. And I'm like, yeah, because it's real.
So we gotta get your hot sauce with those Hot One guys. And coincidentally, I'm gonna be doing a Hot Ones winging eating competition at work here in a couple weeks. I'm gonna get to try the Pepper X hot sauce. I know I can make it to the end, man. I know I can get to the end, but I don't think I'm gonna like myself very much after that.
Well, there's actually a big controversy right now going on with the Pepper X.
Oh, I hadn't heard. Tell me.
Ed Curry, that owns the Pucker Pepper Company, that invented the Carolina Reaper, the Pepper X. He came out with the Pepper X sauce. There's a guy in the pepper. So there's a whole subculture of pepper community.
Yep.
They're called Chilliheads.
Yep.
It's just as big as cannabis and just as drama filled.
Of course it is.
Bro, it's wild. And so there's a guy named Johnny Scoville. And this guy eats he knows heat. He's one of those crazy bastards that eats the whole pod and all that stuff.
That's nuts.
So he tried the Pepper X and he was like, what? And Ed Curry's claiming that the sauce has, I think it's 1.5 or 2 million Scovilles, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you should feel it. So Johnny Scoville went and had the sauce tested, and it only has 60,000 Scovilles.
Interesting.
And he went and got it tested again, and it had around the same amount. So there's this whole controversy right now that Pepper X sauce may not be what everyone's
thinking. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
I'll report back to the community here in a couple weeks after I've had a chance to.
They had a live the other night, and they were going. Oh, bro,
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting here taking dabs, laughing my ass off, dude. I was like, these Chillihead guys are just like hash boys. They're crazy.
The hash boys are crazy. And bringing it back, talking resin now. When you're selecting plants to start breeding with, are you getting in there? Are you looking like, are you scoping things out? Are you picking stuff by word of mouth? What goes on with your selection process?
So it's the feel.
Yeah.
So say I pop a variety, and I have you just like I have 10 seeds, right? And I pop them. I get 4 or 5 females out of there. Okay, let's just for math ways, let's keep it simple. So we get 5 females. Not every seed is going to be a washer.
Hmm?
So I go through there, and I do the finger stringer test, which is the just start off to be able to tell if it's the right red. It's not the end all tell all, but it's a quick way to get out there and be like,
You just
oh yeah,
fully growing bud? Or are you doing it when it's still fresh? Like, talk
no,
about this.
no. So I'll pollinate. So say all those 5 females, I'll pollinate all of them.
Yeah.
And then as they're growing and the resin comes in, if it's not the resin that I want, I kill the plant. I cull it.
Oh,
The whole
so
thing
you're,
full
you're
of seed.
looking for that, just like gooiness between the actual physical.
Has to have that
Yeah.
for it to go in to the actual like seed, because the dad genetics, I already know what those are doing and what those are. That a lot of people don't build their male. I build my male. So this is a part of what I do with my breeding that sets me apart and makes me unique, that most people don't do, is that my male is being built every year. So Fofana, you cross that to GMO, you get shallot sashimi. You cross shallot sashimi to cookies and cream 13, you get expiration date. Take expiration date and you cross it to strawberry guava, and you get Feijoa.
And you're
Take
bringing that
Feijoa,
male forward every year.
yes, and you
And
take
that's what you're
Feijoa,
driving your new lines with.
yes, and you breed it to sour Skittles, and you get lychee, which is the new one.
Nice.
So I'm constantly reinforcing the male with what you could call Mount Rushmore of melt genetics. So things that have been tried and true and proven. So the Fofana that I made, absolutely proven and solid. Okay, boom, we know GMO. So you add that in. Now I had to breed to get the GMO taste out while having the yield in. What did that? Cookies and cream 13. When I added that into the shallot sashimi and I got expiration date, it took all the GMO out but left the yields. And that's the reason that the cookies and cream 13 was chosen. Got all the plants in the yard. That's the one that did the magic, that took out the taste. And so I'm constantly building the male, and hitting it to females.
Very, very cool. And as far as your females go, what are you doing there for selection? Talk about that a bit.
So that'll be either clones that me and my network have, pheno hunted out.
Yep.
And then it'll be seeds that I pop out of my collection, whether that be seeds that are personally mine that I made, or seeds from other people and breeders that I have acquired that I want to include into the lines. And then sometimes I get clones from friends or family that something that, new, something in an area that pops up, and I happen to come into contact with it. And I'm like, oh, hey, can we do a trade? In what way could I help you and you could help me get that plan? And so that's how I do it. But it's all based upon washability. Like the packet, like the package, like every package proudly states, you know what I mean? Genetics specifically bred for resin production and solvent-free hash making.
I'm sorry. Resin speaks, people mumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it, man.
And so it
okay.
takes a lot of guts to market yourself like that, because you're being very specific. And so if you're not being serious and you're not putting in the work and you're just trying to profiteer off people off one-time sales, which, yeah, I'm not going to name any names, but that happens a lot.
No.
And you got to take yourself serious. You got to put in the work, and you got to do what you say you're doing and actually believe it to your core. Because once you believe it without any trace of doubt or speculation, it becomes reality.
Hell yeah,
And so
man.
that's what I make strains specifically bred for that. And so I put it on the package. And so when you have the courage to speak something, you give life to it. That's why they call spelling, because you're casting spells.
Nice. I like that. I've never heard that before.
You literally, if you have the courage to speak it, you give life to it. Then you got to feed it. And once you feed it, it becomes a blaze. And once it becomes a blaze, you throw logs on it. Then it becomes a roaring fire.
Oh yeah. That's passion, man. You have such passion. It comes through in the way that you talk, and with the product that you make. Going back just a minute there to talk about the network. Then, can you talk maybe about collaborations that you're doing, or maybe some up and coming folks that we should be looking at?
I actually have a collaboration that is gonna shake a bunch of doors.
Nice.
My buddy Alan, Wizard of Obs.
Yep.
Yep, we're doing a collaboration this year.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Can you talk to about it at all, or should we
Yeah,
hold off a little bit?
Oh no, it's I contacted him and I just said, hey, I think this is the year that you and I should do because we've been talking about it for a minute. And he's widely known and regarded as one of the OG gatekeepers of genetics and strains. He's been doing it for a very long time. And so I'm really excited to work with him.
Very cool. Very cool. Anybody else out there that would love to get a chance to work with?
Anybody that wants to work.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise of, having a company, is that, so if there's a breeder watching this, if there's somebody that wants to, get some work in, DM me, contact me. You need to realize that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The small, quiet, cowering person in the corner, they get left behind. The being stationary, it precedes death. People sit there still and quiet and motionless and wonder why there's no waves coming their way. There's no one talking to them. You need to go out and you need to talk to people. You need to beat down doors. What is the worst someone going to tell you? No? Like, what? Are you scared to hear the word no? See, when I hear no, it actually turns me on. I get turned on when I hear no. Because when you tell me no, all I hear is next.
Yeah.
And like I will be back. I will be better, bigger, and stronger, and I will conquer what you say I can't.
Persistence. I mean, persistence is key, especially in growing. So to that point, then, tell me about some times when you went out.
It's persistency combined with consistency.
Yeah.
So you can be persistent and you can hit an oak tree in 1,000 different spots. You know what's going to happen? Nothing. But if you consistently hit that oak tree 1,000 times in the same spot, you're going to bring it down.
That's fantastic. And yeah, absolutely true. So let's talk about sometimes when that persistence is paid off, but then also despite, best intentions, project went off the rails. What's some of the highest highs and maybe some of the lowest lows you've encountered in breeding?
One of the highs was just, it took let's see. It took about 5 years for it to fully like really maturate into the way that I envisioned it. You know, having the person that just has their little tent in their garage sending me messages telling me how happy they are, all the way to people like my friend Skelly, who part owner of 710 Labs, that are messaging me and being like, bro, we haven't found as many keepers in your packs out of all the breeders we've ever dealt with. They're like,
Yeah.
dude, your shit is popping.
Slightly credible authority on the subject.
But
So.
That's the thing. It took 5 years.
Yeah, man.
So I started in 2018. I actually have like the progression of the packaging and everything. Like it, it you know, I gave away a lot of stuff for free too during those years. And it's, you know, if you're not willing to put in the 14 to 16 hours a day relentlessly and give away shit for free for up to 5 years, I'm going to be real fucking honest with you. You need to go find something else to do.
Yep.
You need to know what you need to do is you need to go work for somebody. Because entrepreneuring, starting a business, becoming a brand, and being somebody, that's some real fucking shit. You will find out exactly what the fuck you are made of really fast.
So a kid comes up to you, you know, just fresh. He's getting in the game. Says, Taylor, I need some advice. How do I get to the level that you're at?
So you need to create a plan of discipline. That means you need to wake up early. You need to make your bed. You need to eat good, wholesome, nutritious food. You need to exercise. So what you need to do is you need to learn to work more on yourself than you do your job. Because the more you work on yourself and you become the best version of you, your job, your career follows suit. Most people are so apt to try to complete a task in their job and what's going on that they fail to complete the task and the job inside themselves that would yield it in their job in the first place.
That's sage advice for life, man. You can take that just about anywhere. Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what point do you consider a strain yours? You've gotten some genetics from some folks. You know, you've worked it to your male. Like, is that it? It's now a little Lake Valley. Do you work it a couple times? How does that go for you?
Well, until I make a cross, I don't consider it, mine. Yeah, like on all, in all legality forms, if I buy a pack of seeds from somebody, oh, they're my seeds, I'll do what the fuck I want with them. And yes, that is true. And, um, until I make a cross, I just don't say anything is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
And I don't care who uses my stuff. You do not need my permission. I want to make that clear. If you buy something from me, it is yours. Like, it's yours. If you want to make F2s, you want to make a whole line out of something, by all means. That's the whole point that we're trying to do here. We're trying to open up the genetic gene pool. And the more people we have doing more things, it shortcuts it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I just want to kind of tack on something there at the end that if you're going to do that, if you're going to grab some little Lake Valley gear and you're going to start working it, give credit back to where the credit is due. You know, I've got some stuff that I've played with and worked and whatnot, and I make sure when I talk about it to try and lend credence to where it came from, because they're standing on shoulders of giants, as it were. There's some great guys out there who've done some amazing work who will never get the recognition. It's unfortunate. So it's really important, I find, to make sure that you talk about where things came from.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I guess, I'm rounding things out here. upcoming drops. We're gonna put your Instagram down below. I would love to give more information on how to find you and your wonderful products, but YouTube are assholes and
I have
they'll shut me
I have
down.
I have I have links in my bio.
But yeah, we'll get you to the Instagram down there below as well. But yeah, well, what's coming up? New projects?
Just getting prepped for this spring. Gonna have working on the new line that's coming out.
Very cool. Very cool.
And
Can you
getting
give us any hints? Talk to that at all? Build a little hype.
I haven't narrowed it down yet. I'm still narrowing it down.
Yeah, working through that network and just doing that selection process.
Well, no, we're working what the mail's gonna be.
Oh, very
So
cool.
once
Very cool.
I figure out what mail it is, then I'll know what the line's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're selecting a male, what are you looking for? What's making you say that's the champion?
So I'm looking for resin production and internode spacing.
Yep.
So if it's gonna be a super resinous male, that's the main thing. And then I'm looking for internode spacing. I don't know if this is correct, but it's my personal belief that the males impart the internode spacing characteristics and the resin, and the females impart the smell and taste and the look, like the beauty part.
It's a fair enough assumption. Taylor, I absolutely appreciate having you on the first guest here. Even more so, growing your genetics, man. I'm hoping to do more. That I'm gonna hit Woody up there and get him to send me down a couple more packs, and we'll get some more going and continue to show that off. But like, folks, like, don't sleep on Little Lake Valley. Go check out his Instagram page. You can get to his website from there. Get growing on this stuff because honestly, one of the nicest runs I've had ever. Like, hands down. I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your ass either, man. Your fucking plants are awesome.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. First episode of Beyond the Bean, Little Lake Valley Genetics. My man Taylor here. Taylor, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. We out.